This is a wonderful space, and it's really wonderful to be here. Begin by pointing you to this image and looking at the water. Can you hear okay? No? You can't hear. Can you up there put the volume up? Is that better? Yes. Okay. If you can't hear me, please, please let me know. In the last row, can you hear me? Thank you. Okay. So I point you to look at this photograph here and look specifically at the water. And to me, the water is what you're doing, Ryan, and what the Flourishing Foundation is doing. One drop at a time, the ripples are growing and growing. One person at a time in this community, but the ripple effects of the Flourish Foundation are going far beyond Sun Valley. So, thank you. So with gratitude, the Flourishing Foundation and Ryan, the St. Luke's Wood River Foundation for sponsoring my talk, and my dear friend Ann Down for bringing me to Sun Valley. So guiding questions for this presentation. How can you more effectively deal with change, challenge, disappointment, illness, and getting old? And in this very busy, high-tech, low-touch, material-driven, goals-driven, contemporary world that we live in, how can we move beyond feeling depleted and exhausted, lonely, disenchanted, unfulfilled, and yes, stressed out? And finally, for you to consider, as I proceed to share this with you, for you to think about, what does it mean to live fully? And what does it mean to have a good quality of life? And is it really possible? Is that just for the movies or for our next life, or what can we do right here, right now? One request before I continue, is it possible at all to turn down any of the light? There's one really bright one right in the middle that I think that's better. Thank you very much. So take a look at this photo. And take a few deep breaths. Just drop in to being here right now. And you don't have to look at the image right now. You can look at this beautiful space. Just drop into the experience of sitting here right now. And just allow your own breathing to be soft. Allow your belly to be soft like a baby's belly is breathing. Just sort of tune into your own natural rhythm right now. And we'll listen to the words of Rumi. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the doorsill. The two worlds touch. The two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. This speaks to the fragility, the preciousness of our lives. Of our lives. And we have to wake up to the possibilities that are here every moment of every day. So, living fully. We'll come back to the strawberry. Here's one definition of living fully, but you each have your own definition of living fully. Everyone has their own definition. This is my definition, one of my definitions, but to have peace of mind and to enjoy life and be open to the infinite possibilities of experience as each day unfolds. In other words, it means to live with a sense of ease, contentment, and curiosity. Curiosity. And meaning. We all need a reason to live. And it's accepting all that life has to offer. Everything. Both the pleasures and the stings, and it's saying yes to what is possible. What is possible, despite frailty, despite illness, despite challenges and things we don't like? Right through it all, how can we be okay and to find some sweetness in whatever there is? So we know that living with constant worry and fear, regret, anger, all of those, even though they're constructions in our own mind, it's our interpretation of the world around us, these mental constructions do create chronic stress. Chronic stress. And we also know this, that thinking about something, so having worry and ruminating on regrets, leads to the same effects on the body as if you were actively experiencing it at this moment in time. So say it was something that happened 20 years ago, and it's going on and on and on in your mind. And it was something that was very upsetting. It's creating the chronic stress, the production of stress hormones and pro-inflammatory cytokines and all the things that basically break down our bodies. The thoughts themselves create them as if you were experiencing them in that exact moment in time. So this program of cultivating emotional balance, it is learning to mentally train your mind to be more balanced, to have more control of your thoughts. This ancient quote, the Tao Te Ching in 500 BC, plants are born tender and pliant. Dead, they are brittle and dry. The hard and stiff will be broken, and the soft and supple will prevail. And to me, this is the essence of stress resilience. Chronic stress inside us, around us, but how can we stay soft and fluid like a bamboo tree and not get broken like an oak tree? And that's where mindfulness comes in. So Richie Davidson was in this community, so many of you heard his brilliant talk and discussion about how meditation changes the brain. It doesn't only change the function of the brain, it changes growth of different areas of the brain and the cross-firing and the wiring within the brain. So why is that? And we know this. We know that we can, in fact, change different areas of our brain through the idea of neuroplasticity. The neurons and the neural connections are plastic. they can change. That is really new knowledge. 25 years ago, we didn't know that. 25 years ago, we thought that essentially, you have a neurological injury or you have a stroke, and that was it. But now, how wonderful. We can use different parts of our brain and cultivate them and grow them. And we also know that if we don't use areas of our brain, those wires get weaker and aren't as strong. Isn't that exciting? Because those habits that we thought that we picked up from our parents maybe that we didn't like so much, isn't it wonderful that we can maybe change our habits? And it comes back to the exercise analogy. So you get physically fit, you exercise, you lift weights, you get stronger. And I've seen here in Sun Valley that physical fitness is really important and high priority. And wouldn't it be great if mental fitness was as high a priority as physical fitness? But the more that you exercise, the stronger your muscles are, the more energy you have. The same thing with mental training. Mindfulness, meditation, and other types of mental training strengthen these neuronal circuits. So yes, the hope and the promise, the excitement, is even if you are 80 years old, or 60 years old, or 40 years old, or 20 years old, you can create healthy habits. But teaching an old dog new tricks is great, but why is that possible? How can it be possible? Well, the old dog has to want to learn new tricks. That's first and foremost. So it's not like you're going to go to one of Ryan's classes and all of a sudden, someone tells you to go and you walk out and you say, well, nothing really happened. I didn't get anything out of this several-week program. Well, were you invested in it? Did you want to? You have to want to. Intention is essential. So we know that the research in this area is growing tremendously, and this shows you here, if I can, it does work. This is the National Institutes of Health, is NIH. It's the gold standard of governmental funding in this country. It's very hard to get. Only 9% of grants that are funded through NIH right now because of the tough funding climate. But you could see that research related to mindfulness, yoga, and meditation is growing exponentially. And in 2012, there were nearly $50 million from NIH was put into this research. And right now, if you do a PubMed search, so that's sort of the search of the scientific literature, looking at mindfulness, yoga, and meditation, there are over 600 peer-reviewed database articles that have been published. So it's a growing body of literature to support why and how these interventions, these types of mental trainings make a difference. So to summarize the literature, and this is just a synopsis here, we know that mindfulness training is associated with changes in the brain and brain regions associated with being able to better focus attention, being less distracted, not ruminating as much. The ruminations are those negative self-talk things that keep going around and around in our heads. Better able to adapt to changes. Well, that's kind of a novel idea because things generally don't stay the same. Better able to monitor and perceive your environment so you can look around, make wise choices, perceive your internal body sensations, tuning into your body, and less activation of your fear regions. So, in essence, we know that this training helps you to be more focused, more aware of what's happening around you, and consequently respond wisely. Be in tune with your body and what it needs. A lot of times we don't even know what our body needs. We're just going, eating on the fly, eating in front of a computer or television, not really tuning in. What does our body need? Do we need to get some medical intervention, to exercise? Helps us to be more present with others, less rigid in our thinking, better able to go with the flow, and less fearful, less stressed out. And consequently, and I'm not getting into the physiology of this, but we know that chronic stress is associated with these inflammatory changes in our body, and every single chronic illness, major chronic illness, whether it be cancer or diabetes, an autoimmune disease, heart disease, etc., all of them have an inflammatory component. Every one of them has an inflammatory component. So any behavior that you can do, whether it be through your diet, through exercise, or through mental training like mindfulness meditation, you can, in fact, lower the inflammatory activation in the body. And in the last year, there have been about 4 or 5 studies that have shown that mindfulness training and other types of meditation training can actually change our genetic environment, the messenger RNA, and how basically we are able to respond to stress and the inflammation, subsequent inflammation. This is a study that I was involved in. I actually led it. It was when I was at Emory, and we're just publishing it now. This was kind of a fun and interesting study in collaboration with neuroscientists and contemplatives. And we compared experienced meditators, cancer patients, and healthy people who didn't have cancer and didn't meditate. And we looked at their brain function. We put them into an fMRI scanner, and we looked at blood flow in their brain in response, real-time blood flow, in response to stimuli when they're in the scanner. So we had them listen to words that were positive words, that were happy words, like smiling baby or winning the lottery, maybe. And then we had other ones where they were negative words, there were cancer words and non-cancer words. And we looked at the responses, the differences and the similarities of how the brain responded to listening to these words. And what we found was really quite interesting. We found that the experienced meditators and the cancer patients responded very similarly. Meaning that in response to the cancer words, they responded in a similar way. And what that told us is that the meditators were better able to empathize with the cancer patients because they responded to these cancer-related words. The healthy controls, the healthy volunteers, didn't respond at all to the cancer words. It was like they didn't even hear the cancer words. There was no response at all to the cancer words. And then when we looked at positive words and negative words, we found that the cancer patients actually responded, do you think more to the positive words or to the negative words? Positive. The cancer patients responded much more to the positive words. And that oftentimes relates to this idea of post-traumatic growth, where we can go through a very difficult experience and then on the other side of it realize some of the preciousness of our lives. Cancer patients responded to the positive words much more often. The healthy controls, mostly university staff and faculty who participated, the negative words. Way more response to the activation to the negative words. And then the meditators, what do you think the meditators did? They responded to both, and they responded to both quite equally. And so we can interpret that as this sense of emotional balance and equanimity. So a lot of people think that, if you're going to meditate, you're going to be happy, happy, happy all the time, and you're only going to feel positive things. That's not true. You feel sad. You feel, difficult emotions, but you don't hold on to them as long. They're not quite as sticky. But you also feel the joy, and there's more of a balance. Just a quick graph you could see, just without analyzing it, you could see the blues are similar. That's the cancer patients and the meditators. And just very briefly, a lot of my work right now is I'm really, really interested in healthcare professionals' well-being and the quality of the care that they're providing. How many of you in this room are healthcare professionals? Just a few of you. And how many of you in this room really want a healthcare professional that really listens to you and is compassionate? Okay, 100%, right? Yeah. Well, it's hard to be a doctor and a nurse and another type of social worker and other type of chiropractor, any other kind of provider. It's really hard. And we're distracted, there's a lot going on, and we're pulled in a lot of different directions. And so what can we do to actually help them to have better resilience and to be more present with their patients? And in this study, it was looking at mindful clinicians, and it was doctors and nurse practitioners and physician's assistants. And very simply, the more mindful that they were, the more satisfied the patients were. No brainer, we knew that. But this is the exciting finding for me, is that this study showed it took no more time to be more attentive, to be more present. When I work with doctors and nurses, they say to me, I don't have any more time to do one more thing. And what we're talking about is not adding any more time. It's looking at the quality of our presence, the quality of our relationship with them. And that goes beyond work. It goes beyond the hospital. It's everybody in your everyday life. Does it take any more time to be with your loved one in an attentive way? Instead of looking down at the computer, your smartphone? No, it doesn't take any more time. So we see mindfulness as having three different components: attention, intention, and attitude. So attention is paying attention, bringing attention. I don't like paying attention, bringing attention or bringing awareness. On purpose, you are intentionally coming back from distraction, coming back, and you do so in a particular way. And that way is essentially with kindness, with gentleness, and this in the middle is mindful awareness. So taking a moment to just soak in this image. They're both mindful. So here's our old friend, George, and he represents our monkey mind. And our minds are meant to think, which is wonderful, because we have a brain, we have an imagination, we can plan, we can make important decisions, but we also need some space to just be. Because thinking and creating all the time, going from branch to branch to branch to branch to branch, takes a lot of energy. It depletes us, it exhausts us, it distracts us. So this is interesting. This was a recent study. And it found, this was a study of over 2,000 people. And they basically said in any moment in time, and this was a very well done study, in any moment in time, 47% of the people said that they were distracted and they were not really experiencing what was actually happening in front of them. 47%. And what is even more interesting is that when they were distracted, they weren't happy. It wasn't like they were like distracted about happy thoughts. They're distracted and unhappy. And this is another definition, and this is a definition that I have thought long about and have had discussions with colleagues as I developed it. So essentially, yes, you can do things mindfully, but in its essence, mindfulness is a way of being. And it's a way of being in relationship with yourself, your body, your thoughts, your demons. It's your relationship with yourself. It's your relationship with others, relating to others, relating to your circumstances, and to the environment and the world around us. And we do that. We do that by intentionally bringing awareness to our present moment experience. And we do that with this curiosity, this openness, the spirit of not knowing. And we use all our senses, the fullness of our lives right now, through using all our senses and looking at the landscapes of our minds, thoughts and emotions, and not holding on to the things that we absolutely love and are great, and not pushing away the things we don't like. There's this letting go, there's this ease, there's this openness and spaciousness to whatever is arising. We're not talking about doing something that, like, you might say, well, I can't, learn that. That's not me. Well, I challenge you, it is you. It's all of us. We are born with this innate capacity to bring gentle, kind awareness. But what happens? Our worlds get clouded and covered up with rules and goals and judgments. And so what we are doing is coming back to the essence of your authentic self. It's like the sun is shining all the time, even on the foggiest, cloudiest days. It's always shining. It's just covered up by the clouds. And if you don't have time to take a class and sit with other people in these practices, just hang out with kids, or really hang out with your dog, or other people's dogs and kids. So the storm, what's the storm? Basically, the storm is just the stuff of life, particularly the ongoing demands, the ongoing things that we don't, that are really burdening us. It's there. It's all around us every day. It's always there. But what can we do with it? Thinking of the water analogy. Well, we could drop in. We can drop our anchor right now. So what's the anchor? Well, the breath is often used as an anchor. Because, as long as we are alive, we have a breath. And unless breathing is something, if breathing is difficult for you, the breath is not a great That's a great anchor. It's okay. We have anchors all the time. An anchor is something that brings us back to this moment, to take us out of our ruminating, worrying minds, our distracted minds. It's whatever can bring you back. And a nice, full, deep breath is a good way to do it because it's with us. But it could be feeling the sun on your face. It could be feeling the wind. It could also be your phone ringing. It could be just feeling your feet underneath you. It doesn't have to be fancy, it doesn't have to be special, but whatever it can be is dropping in to this moment. And then the chop is up here. The chop is going on all around us. But if we could drop our anchors right now, we drop in, we drop in, we drop in. We can find some clarity and calm. It's like scuba diving, right? You go down, you look up, you could see it's kind of murky up there. But you go down low. It's calm, it's clear. You don't have to stay down there for very long. You can come back up. You're going to need to come back up, but you can drop down at any time, in the middle of a busy day, in the middle of a scary day. So the strawberry. So there's an ancient story about the strawberry, and it goes something like this. There was this woman in a faraway land, and she was trekking, confident, strong, and all of a sudden she looks behind her, and she notices a big, scary tiger getting closer to her, getting closer to her, getting closer to her. And she gets scared, and she starts to go faster and faster and faster. The tiger is chasing her, chasing her, chasing her. She runs to get away from the tiger, and she gets to a cliff, literally a big drop-off. She looks down like, oh no, what am I going to do? Fortunately, she looks down, and she notices a vine. There's a vine right there, hanging off the cliff. So she grabs the vine, she climbs down, she looks up. She sees the tiger there looking at her, just staring at her, but there she's safe. She's right there. So she starts to keep lowering herself down, and she looks down, and she sees another tiger. Oh no, this isn't good. This is not good. Tiger above, tiger below. And so she's trying to collect herself, and then she looks up at the vine, and she notices there's a little mouse. And the mouse is chewing the vine. And she realizes that she's really screwed right now. And then she just happens to look right at that moment, right growing out of a crack from the earth in front of her eyes is this big, beautiful, bright strawberry. And she decides to pick it and eat it. And it was the juiciest, sweetest, most amazing strawberry she's ever had in her entire life, right at that moment. So what does this story tell you? The tiger that was chasing her, the tiger above, is basically her past, the regrets about the past. The tiger below is the worries of the future. And the mouse is the passage of time. So what can you do to seize this moment of those demons of the past and the future, and in this passage of time, to seize and grab that strawberry right here, right now. So a lot of my work has been in working with people who have cancer and other life-limiting illnesses. And much of my research over the last 12 years or so has been with people who've gone through bone marrow transplant for cancer. So just share with you a couple of quotes. And this was in response to mindfulness training. In a way, I kind of let go of that frantic clinging to life, and I'm willing to go with the flow. The other day, this was said 3 months after she left the hospital, after being in the hospital for a few weeks, went home. 3 months later, she said this. The other day, I was standing at the radiator, and I was just ready to pick something up to read. And I thought, I am at the radiator. It is warm. I am in my home. Isn't this lovely? And this gentleman, he was in one of my early studies, and he was a very successful businessman. And he was a self-described type A personality, and he agreed to participate in my research study because his wife thought it was a good idea. And he knew that it was not probably going to be a great experience to go through this very difficult procedure, be in the hospital for so long, so he figured, okay, why not? So he did it. And this is what he had to say a few months after being in the hospital and learning this. He said, the mindfulness meditation, has changed the whole quality of my life and has become a daily ritual. It was one of the most important parts of my recovery. It lowered my anxiety and increased my sense of control. It relaxes and refreshes me. The more I meditated, the more calm I became. Before, I was always someone who fretted about things. Now, I am focused on the pleasure of the moment, and the days are not agonizing, even if I'm feeling really ill. What's even more remarkable about what he says here is that he shared this with us at a time when he knew that his cancer had recurred. And it was after going through the type of procedure he has, there was nothing else they could do. It was basically, he knew he was done getting treatments, and he was home on hospice when he said this. Fast forward a few months later, and I received a card in the mail, and it was a lovely handwritten card, and it was from his wife. And I didn't actually know him. I didn't work with him. I was a researcher. I was a name on a consent form. But she felt so inspired to reach out and to write this note to me. And essentially, she thanked me. And she thanked me for giving them the gift of mindfulness. And she said it was the best part of him going through the transplant, and sees it as a gift of him going through the transplant, because it not only helped him to have a good quality of life, but it absolutely impacted the quality of their relationship. And for that, she was really, really quite thankful. So, meditation and medicine have the same roots. And Madiri, it's a Latin word, and it means to heal, to comfort, and to care for. So I like to think of meditation as a way of comforting and caring for yourself. So this is a little acronym, a little reminder for you. So whenever you find yourself rushing around, feeling overwhelmed, maybe angry and ready to snap at somebody, agitated, worried, distracted, mind is racing, scared, critical of yourself, critical of others, really judgmental, harboring grudges, harboring regrets. When you catch yourself, when you notice any of these things, and does anybody not ever experience any of these things? Well, if you ever do this. So stop. So S is literally stop and pause. You catch yourself and you say, okay, I notice that I'm doing that. Stop and pause. T, take a few slow, deep breaths. Allow the breath to go deep in your body. And tune in. Notice what's happening inside you. And then O, observe, notice what's on your mind, what you're thinking, what you're feeling emotionally. And then P. P is to proceed with awareness, with kindness, and wise action or wise inaction. Because maybe the wisest thing to do sometimes is nothing at all, and to just let things settle before you say something that you might regret, before you do something that you might not be glad that you did that. And this little thing here, STOP, takes seconds. You could do this in a matter of 5 to 10 seconds. So, anybody know what this is? It's Kokoro, a Japanese character. And it's a Japanese character for mind and heart. There's no distinction. Heart and mind, the same language. So as I teach mindfulness and practice mindfulness, it's not just about focusing attention and doing things really, carefully. No. There's a softness to it. It's heartfulness. You're bringing awareness right now with a full heart to this moment. So expanding a little further, mindfulness is foundational to living fully. It really is. But once we have that as our foundation, we can develop it even more. And this theory of broaden and build theory by Barbara Fredrickson, who is a social psychologist at the University of North Carolina. And essentially it goes like this, that if we can focus our attention to what's right instead of what's wrong, focus our intention of what we're grateful for, what we love. We bring our attention to the things that bring us joy and happiness. We end up having more positive emotions. More gratitude grows, more love grows, more happiness grows, more joy. And so it's little by little shifting and focusing the flashlight on what is good, what is right. And there's been a lot of research that's been done to actually test this theory. So, pro-social qualities are these positive emotion, these positive qualities that I mentioned just now, and we'll go into them a little bit more. But how do we cultivate them? Yes, being aware and wanting to is really paramount. So compassion. Compassion for self, compassion for others. Compassion isn't just being nice, but compassion is the deep desire to alleviate the suffering of another. Even if we can't do it, at least we have the desire and the intention to do it. That's real compassion. And loving kindness is a type of practice and way of being. And it's not only to people who are suffering. Loving kindness is basically this fountain of goodwill for everybody. You know, Sharon Salzberg has been to this community before, and Sharon has written and speaks and teaches on loving kindness. It's a practice of just wishing good things for everybody. Everybody. Those we like, those we don't like. Those suffering, those not suffering. It's to all beings, not only to people. It's to animals and to the environment. This was a study looking at training people and doing a loving kindness meditation training. And they were taught over 7 weeks. And essentially they found, yes, it supported the theory that the more that they did this loving kindness practice, the more positive emotions they had, the happier they were, the more grateful they were, the more love that they experienced. And also as a result, they were more attentive, aware of their life, more mindful, and they were also less distressed, had less physical illness, and more meaning in life. We come back to living fully, we come back to living a full life. Meaning is foundational. Gratitude. There's a growing body of research that's looking at both having a grateful disposition, but also helping people to cultivate being grateful through keeping a gratitude journal. And for people that have had neurological disorders that kept a gratitude journal, they had significant, more positive emotions and greater quality of life and better function, physical functioning. And we can soften the word gratitude and call it gratefulness. And Brother David Steindl-Rast calls gratefulness this ability to wake up and to shine that light on the positive things that we can be grateful for at any moment. Yeah, we can shine the light on what we're not grateful for, what we're angry about, what we're bitter about, or we can gently begin to cultivate shining it toward what we are grateful for. Sympathetic joy or empathetic joy. This is the antidote for jealousy and envy. We are constantly comparing ourselves to other people, and we think that others have it better than we do, and a lot of times that's true. Maybe. I think everyone has their share of difficulties, but definitely there are times that being jealous, being envious does not serve us. It doesn't impact the other person who you're jealous and envious about, but what does it do to you? It makes you angry and bitter, and that is chronic stress, and that takes a toll on you. So what if we tried to be happy when something really good happened to another person? Even another person we don't really like. Just try it. See if it makes you feel any better or not. And forgiveness. I can do a whole talk on forgiveness, and I won't. I don't have the time to do that, but forgiveness is incredibly powerful, and it's forgiveness to ourselves for things that we have done or maybe haven't done. It's forgiveness to others for things that they have done or haven't done. Forgiveness could be for people who are still in our lives or people who are no longer in our lives. But the process and the practice of forgiveness is incredibly healing and can dissolve this resistance and this stress that we can hold on for years. Forgiveness is the antidote for harboring grudges and regrets. So mindfulness allows us to hold on to our suffering, not clenching, resisting, or running away. It allows us to soften to our experience with clarity, calm, and healthy acceptance. Compassion, gratitude, forgiveness practices help us to heal within, to heal relationships, to be more connected with others, and to be more connected with what matters most to you. So we come back to this idea of living fully. And I think of living fully and letting go as being two sides of the same coin. That to really live fully, to really, really soak it in. You think about those times in your life, just right now, you can just close your eyes and think about those experiences in your life when you have felt like, yes, an easy one of when you have lived fully. There's this component of letting go, right? So letting go of trying to be a certain way, needing to be right, needing to be perfect, needing to be liked, perfect, beautiful, letting go of expectations. Expectations for yourself, expectations of others. Having expectations of how other people should be really, really can wear us down. Letting go of that. Letting go of your inner critic. Regrets. And as best you can, fears and worries. And attachment to outcomes. When we are living our lives and wanting to be there for other people, to do good in the world, the best way to not be disappointed is to not have attachment to outcome. If you have a generous spirit, you want to give to others without any strings attached. Just let go. Let it freely flow from you. And if it doesn't turn out the way you originally intended, you can't be disappointed if you're not attached to the outcome. So we come back to the baby. We come back to just considering your authentic self and your soft, breathing belly. So I've worked with a lot of people, met a lot of people all over the world, and I think if I can capture conversations from them, and if I asked every single one of you, what is it that you really want? What is it that you want? The end of the day, the end of your life, what is it that you say you want? And for most people, it's to live a good life. And you define what that means. But the bottom line is you want to have a good life. You want to have a good quality of life. But from the time you are born to the time that you die, consider that your life is just made up of many, 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 many moments. It's all just moments. So think about how you are living, how you are spending those moments. And our dear Matthew Ricard, who has also been to Sun Valley, he has said this, that the quality of our experience, moment by moment, will determine the quality of our lives. So how are you living your moments? Are you grabbing those strawberries? Or are you just looking, or do you just see the tigers and don't even see the strawberry in front of you? So I will share with you a poem, and with this poem, hopefully I will remember it all. Goes something like this: forget about enlightenment, and sit down wherever you are, and feel the wind that is singing in your veins. Feel the wind that is singing in your veins. Feel the love, the longing, the fear in your bones. And open your heart to who you are right now. Not who you'd like to be. Not the saint you're striving to become. But the being right here, before you, inside you, around you. All of you is holy. You are already more and less than whatever you can know. So breathe out, look in, and let go. That is Forget About Enlightenment by John Welwood. So I end with this quote by Albert Camus. In the depth of winter, I finally learned that within me there lay an invincible summer. So thank you all. I think we have